type 1 and type 2 errors. Now, let's look at the context of what's happening. I'm going to be explaining a situation where a drug testing company, firm A, this company performs drug tests. So the essence of the business of firm A is that somebody walks in and the reality may be that the person is using drug, and the result is that there's a positive drug test or a negative drug test. If there's a positive drug test and the person uses drugs, then that's no error. The results work. If there's a negative drug test on somebody who uses drug, then we have an error. So we're interested in this situation here where the person uses drug and it comes back to say it's negative. The other possible error is the person does not use drug and it comes back with a positive result. So that's also an error. The other possibility is no drug use is the reality, negative drug test, no error. Now, how the government is concerned with how this whole process here works for a firm, and the government is wanting to make a judgment, okay, is the firm doing it correctly or not? Now, the reality for the firm, which is really what the truth is all about, is that it may be doing H0 is that it's doing it properly, and H0 being false would be that it's not doing it properly. Now, a type 1 error is a situation where the government concludes that firm A is not testing correctly when indeed it is. So that is what is here. So H0 is true, so we're assuming that, hey, status quo, the company is signed off and licensed, so they are testing correctly. So H0 is true. That's the assumption. And if the government steps in to test and finds that, hey, let's go ahead and reject that. So in this case, we have a type 1 error being committed. So the government is concluding that the firm is not testing correctly when indeed the firm is testing correctly. The other possibility is what we call a type 2 error, where the government will conclude that the testing is correct when it is not. So the truth is that H0 is that the company has a license, they're assumed to be testing correctly, but the truth in this case is that that's false. And if the government's test provides a result that suggests that we fail to reject H0, then we have committed an error. We have failed to realize that they are not doing it properly. So that's a type 2 error, which is what is described down here. So if the government concludes that firm A is testing correctly when in fact it's not, remembering that, okay, what exists before the government walked in to test? The firm is licensed, so they are testing correctly. So that H0, which is the truth, is that the truth is really in this case that they are not testing correctly, and the government should have rejected it. So that would have been okay if it did, but it didn't. And in that case, firm not testing correctly, government says it is, or fails to say that it's not, then we have a type 2 error. So I deliberately did this to mix in the drug testing and what's happening in that background, and then government looking at the firm that's doing it and making a judgment on the firm. But the important thing to remember is to focus on what is the status quo. What does H0 actually represent? H0 in this case represents, okay, the firm is testing correctly, and that is what we assume to be the status quo or the norm or the truth or the base for the experiment. The experiment, the conclusion we would want to reach is that, hey, we do not have enough evidence to say that they are not, or we definitively have enough evidence to say that they are not testing correctly, which we would reject the null hypothesis, and the null hypothesis being that they are testing correctly. So it's a concept, and you need to sort of wrap your heads around it. So go ahead and send any questions you have to us, and we will be happy to assist with that. And I'm hoping that you would have gotten some clarity on this. Alright, so thank you for watching.